Recently, someone left a comment in one of my videos asking if I could give advice to newer yoga teachers out there. And so in this video, I want to give you the best piece of advice that I have. Because being a yoga teacher is about authenticity, but being authentic might actually be a little bit harder than you think. Always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of someone else. You know who said this quote? Judy Garland. And you know what she used to do to prepare for her performances? Yoga. Which isn't relevant. But this quote is a quote that I've heard for years. And honestly, I've had a very complex relationship with it. Because on one hand, I understand what it's trying to say. Be you. But I think most people have absolutely no idea what being themselves even means. I've gone from being a chef, trying to open up a restaurant, to teaching yoga and traveling all over the world. Do I know for certain this is the real me? I don't know, maybe. I'd like to believe it is, but who knows? But it gets even more difficult when you're around somebody who you admire, someone who you look up to, someone who you want to be a little bit more like, wanting to embody, let's say, their confidence or their wisdom or their charisma, their skill set. And this shows up everywhere, especially though in teaching yoga. Recently, someone commented on one of my videos asking me to make another video with advice for newer teachers. And one of the first things that came to mind was this quote. Because I think one of the cautions of becoming a teacher is how quickly you can start to become versions of other people, other teachers, especially if you're not careful. You start mimicking what other teachers do. The things that they do that you admire, how they speak, how they sequence their classes, the way that they move around the room. And I'm not saying this is bad. I've done my fair share of imitating. I think mimicry is a fundamental stage of learning. And from a very young age, we learn through imitation. We learn to speak and sound like our parents. We learn to dress and act like our friends. We adopt the interests and behaviors around the people around us who we think are pretty cool. That's part of being human, and it's how we learn. And hopefully, though, over time, through our experience and through trial and through error, through discovering what feels right and what doesn't, we slowly begin to shape into our own version of ourselves. But here's where I think things can go wrong. We can become so focused on what is popular, what's trendy, what's cool, what's being praised or rewarded externally, that we can stop actually checking in with what it is that we're feeling inside. We start speaking to be accepted. We start acting in a way in which we're trying to get validation, performing versions of ourselves that are maybe easier for other people to understand. And sometimes this happens gradually, so gradually that we don't even notice it. Trust me, I know this well. I've spent huge parts of my life trying to become the version of myself that I thought other people wanted me to be. Trying to be agreeable, trying to say the right things, trying not to disappoint anyone, trying to gain approval. And when it works, it definitely makes life easier. But it makes life easier for everyone else. But eventually, for me at least, you start realizing something. You can become so adapted to other people that you stop knowing what actually belongs to you. Which thoughts are yours and which preferences are yours, which parts of your personality developed naturally, and which parts were kind of built around survival. And I think this is why that quote always feels incomplete to me. Be a first-rate version of yourself? Okay, but what if you're still trying to figure out who that person is? What if most of your life's been spent adapting and trying to fit into environments? What if becoming yourself is actually really uncomfortable? Because personally, I think being yourself is fucking hard. I honestly think most people are living as mixtures of who they are, who they think they should be, and who they've kind of learned to become. And maybe that's all just part of the process. I think life is way less binary than Judy makes it sound. Life is much less like just be yourself or be someone else. It's more like a slow process of discovering yourself through life and friction and bumping up against conflict and conflicting feelings. And authenticity is not arriving at some fixed identity either. I see so much ego out there that's kind of cloaked in this. Authenticity is about being honest about where you are, where you actually are, even if it's not where you want to be at this moment. Which brings me back to this advice for newer teachers. Don't rush to become somebody you're not. Learn from people, borrow from people, be inspired by people. That's all part of the process of learning, but don't abandon yourself in the process. And more importantly, don't pretend to be further along than you actually are. If it's your first time teaching, let it look like your first time teaching. If it's your 4th year teaching, let it look like your 4th year teaching. If you're nervous, be nervous. If you're excited, be excited. If you're learning, be learning. If you make mistakes, make epic mistakes. That's what authenticity is. That's what resonates with people. Not sounding profound all the time, not sharing more platitudes, not quoting more books, not trying to inspire. Because there's nothing less inspiring than somebody who wants to be inspiring. Just allow yourself to be where you are in each and every moment. Because being a first-rate version of yourself is not becoming some perfected identity, some guru. It's simply developing the courage to stop abandoning yourself for approval, or a bigger class size, or more attendance, or more praise, or a bigger raise, and allowing whatever version of you are in this moment to help you slowly reveal who you can become in time. So that's my advice to you newer teachers out there, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if there's something you're interested in learning, go ahead and drop it in the comments. I'd love to make a video about something you're interested in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.